Alright, welcome back to another containerization crash course. My name is Jeff Krakenberg, and today I am going to be looking at some Docker services we haven't talked about yet. If you didn't notice on the overhead part, no longer focusing on Pokemon Red. I pivoted that to a side project I'll talk about later. We're going to go back to Docker functionality. I have not overcome the hyperfixation, it's just somewhere else now. But if you weren't aware, Docker has been able to containerize and run local LLMs for a while. You could use something like Docker pull and then do Ollama to get the image. So this will give us a container that can run the service or app of Ollama locally with some of the models. We're going to use a basic model today. But the reason why we're talking about this is a couple of months ago, started going around that there's something called Docker model. Words are hard. Docker model runner, which makes it a little bit more intuitive for some use cases. So we're going to get into what those use cases are when my internet speeds finally align with what my internet service provider is supposed to, or is saying I'm supposed to have. Because we're on Google Fiber here. We got the 1 gig plan, and as you can see, it is definitely going a whole gig per second right there. That is phenomenal. So while that is pulling just a bit of more data, 2 more whole gigs essentially, almost 3 whole gigs at this point. Ollama, if you're not familiar with it, it's where you can get a lot of models from it. It's an app that allows you to run local LLMs. You can set it up as an API thing so that you can have your chatbot poke at it. We did some of that this week. You can set it up so that you can talk to it directly, which is what I'm going to be doing in a second. And historically, that meant that you had to download an application to your computer and then download or pick some models for it to use and then run all of that. Then Ollama got Dockerized, which is what we're pulling right now. That then allowed us to just spin up a container that has a clean image of Ollama and nothing else, and would allow us to run some models directly, whether that's through the API using something like Docker exec and opening it up to the port, or Docker run, which we're going to use in a minute, and talking to it directly. The next part that is kind of interesting is that once you have that model running, it is the same. Whether you're using Ollama the app or Ollama through Docker, it's still Ollama, it's still using the same models, still using the same rules. So you can throw in some model files. If you're familiar with those, they're like Docker files, but for AI local LLM models to create your own image based on it. You can set context parameters and stuff like that. We might get into that in a later video, but the reason why I bring up those model files is that they were based on Docker files. So Docker files were how you configure your containers and images, as we've done. Model files did the same thing, and then we could use Docker files with model files in Ollama images to set up custom AI. But now with Docker model run, I can't talk for days. With Docker model runner, we're supposed to be able to do that a little bit more cleanly, but it's going to take a video or two to get there. So let's start with the basics now that we have pulled and downloaded the entire thing. Let's see how long that takes to extract. I forgot about the extraction whole. We might speed this part up. Hopefully you guys are drinking water. Just realized I still have my Christmas tree on behind me. It's April, so in the words of someone, might as well leave it up all year at this point, right? All right, so we are almost pulled on that. Let's go ahead. I'm going to bring up that Ollama from the Docker repository. This is what we've been working with right now, or what we're pulling down. It is just the localized LLM by Ollama. It's got a neat little llama on a whale. It's like they're merging them together. And it gives you some ways to run it. Right here, this is how you could do it if you wanted it as an API callable thing. So you would use run dv to detach it and attach it to the volume and give the port of 11434, which is their basic one. A bunch of stuff on here. And then when you wanted to run a model locally, you can just execute it. That's what we're going to do in a bit. Bunch of models available through here because you could just go to their model library and you should kind of be able to call any of them. There are some known issues that we won't go too deep into, but if you're looking for like a small one that you could use, there's Tiny. Tiny's a good one. Tinylama and Tiny Dolphin, those are pretty solid. Tiny Dolphin is a specialized version of Llama, but if we were to pull in Tinylama, so cute. Compact model. I love how it has like, oh here, if you keep scrolling down, it's going to give you more information. It's not. Updated 2 years ago, so not very active. But if we scroll down, they've been doing a lot. So regardless of what you need, there will be a model out there for you, and you can use Ollama to get it that way. Oh man. One of the big differences that I struggled with when I started using Docker Model Runner is just my own brain. So like if I go back to here, right, we're talking about port 11434. Another thing to keep in mind when you're using Model Runner, it is actually on a different port. Where was I reading that earlier? Somewhere. It's one of these commands. No, that's to get Hugging Face models. It'll come back up. Our pull is done, so let's actually use this now. We could just Docker run it directly, so we'll do Docker run it Ollama, because I didn't create my own image, I'm just using the one I pulled, and then I'm going to give it the command of Ollama. Do you like typing llama a lot? Because here we go with another llama. We're going to say Docker run it Ollama run llama 3. So we're saying interactively run the Ollama image. Inside of the Ollama image, run Ollama, and using Ollama, run llama 3. That's a lot of running llamas. Let's see if it works. Error unknown. Did I type something incorrectly? Ollama will go ahead and just run the image to make sure that works. Oh my gosh. There we go. Could not find generating new private key. Okay, it's fine. Should be fine. And then the documentation says to go into We're gonna see if we could just get it to one that way. Ollama. Oh. All right. I just want to get that llama running. Okay, so now we got it up and running. PSA. Oh yeah, I forgot to clean out all the other ones. Anyway, here we go. We see it right up here at the top. We've got Ollama running, and it's bound to 11434. So if I go ahead and do something like nmap my local host, since I'm in Cali, I can do that. I need to add port 11434, and we've got an open service on there. So if we wanted to, we could send a message to that. I don't want to write a whole curl today. Do you give me a curl? I'm lazy. Here we go. So we're saying using the open host Gemma not found. Okay. So we're there, but we don't have the model. Let's see if we have llama 3. Model not found. This is a common issue. And I could keep working through this, but I just wanted to show you guys that this is not just a plug and play thing. There's a lot of troubleshooting you have to do sometimes to get it working in that way. So what we're going to do now is go back here, and I'm going to docker stop everything, and then I'm going to docker rm everything. So that I should then be able to PSA and images, and see that I have all that stuff still. I've still got Ollama in here and a bunch of other stuff I'm working on. Don't worry about it. But that 9 gig disk usage for Ollama is kind of what I'm trying to get around here. So let's go ahead and clear that, and let's move into Docker model runner as we get closer to the 15 or 10-minute mark. So first up, as an alternative to doing Ollama the way we have been doing, we could do something like sudo apt update and apt install docker model runner. This is if you want to use it through the engine. It is supported through the desktop a little bit more, so if you want to go that route, it's a little bit easier. I like using the engine though, for reasons that we've gone over, and also in the next video I'm probably going to tie this together with the Docker file and Docker compose stuff that we've been working on. But we went ahead and fetched that at a whopping 6.7 kbs. Oh, I didn't do sudo both times. That's why that didn't work. Sometimes you have to remember to type the commands, and remembering is hard. Alright, so remember when I was like, typing's hard? You guys would never judge me. Unable to locate Docker model runner. Interesting. Did I type it wrong? I did type it wrong. It's plugin, not model runner. So we want the plugin. I had the documentation open, and I have it written in my notebook, and I just typed it wrong. Sometimes learning and reading is hard. So we now have that Docker model plugin. One main thing to remember when you're using this one, I'm going to go ahead and clear this out, is that we're not going to be going directly like Docker run anymore. We are now using Docker model. So I can do Docker model pull, and I'm just going to use the one from the documentation, pull AI small llm. A little bit quicker, right? Because it's a little bit more streamlined through Docker. We're not having to pull down all of Ollama and run it inside of an Ollama image. Instead, we can do it directly with Docker model runner. Still do have to wait a little bit. I should probably give my VM some more juice. Alright, so we have successfully pulled it down. It is now grabbing the stuff to run it. Shouldn't take too long. If only my internet service provider would give me the speeds my internet service provider said they would give me. Anyway, this isn't a video about that. So we've pulled it successfully. Another one to keep in mind is Docker model version before we go any further. The reason is they even have on the documentation that you might need to update it to get rid of the runner in the engine and then update it to the new one. That's the easiest way to do that. So if you ever find yourself out of sync, do that. But we're not here to fix a sync issue because I'm not a plumber. We're going to Docker model run AI small llm2, and we're going to do this in go. And now here we are. I can say, hello, how do you reverse a string in Python without using string -1? And it's going to write right back to us. we go. It's taking a second. It's not as fast. Did it give us what we wanted? Not really. Because if you take a look at the first one, I said, hey, can you do this without using this? And then the first one is literally that. It does give us alternates, so we could do reverse string, so we could do join and reversed. We could do editor tools. Okay, so it did give us some helpful stuff. But whenever you're done with this, you can just go ahead and do exit. Now we're back here. And if I do docker PSA, docker model images, or wait, no, it's not images. It's list now. We can see that I have the small LM right here. You can also stop the runner, uninstall it. You can spend some time going through here. You can get your coding assistance up and running. I know how much you guys on the internet are big fans of that right now. But let's go ahead and one more time go through that. If I clear this out and do docker model pull AI, let's do Tinylama. Unable to find because that's not the same place. Where do they have it? Pull a model locally. Sometimes I actually read ahead. I already talked about that. Package. Was it just on the model runner page? Anyway, here we go. So we can use llama diffusers. Yeah. All right, so I cheated. I just used it the silly way. So we can search for it. So these are pulling out a Hugging Face. So let's instead do Tinylama. See if we can get my Tinylama on here. I love that guy. And here we go. We got all of them through Hugging Face. So we got the 1.1 billion chat, and it is called HF. We're just going to copy that. We're not typing that out. So we're going to do docker model pull pasta what we copied. It's quicker to run and use, but only when you're staying within the bounds of what is pre-configured and set up. So if you go outside of those bounds, it does become a little bit less easy to work with. So I was using AI small LM2 because that is the one that their documentation says to use. And it worked really quickly. I was able to just snap through it and get talking to a chatbot. You can do the same thing if you wanted to set it up for API calls. But when you go outside of that and you start pulling down models, just like Ollama, you are going to have to wait until the entire thing is pulled. We're a little bit smaller now on this because we're just pulling Tinylama. But again, Tinylama is a small one, and it's only 1.1 billion parameters. If you're looking for a bigger model, you're going to want to be using a computer or a VM that has more than 2 processors and 2 gigs of memory. I'm not, so on top of my internet speeds, you guys are having to struggle through that. And the last bit that I'm going to add in there is a name tag, because I don't want to have to type in this whole thing every single time, right? Hugging Face, go Tinylama 1.1b chat v1. No, that's too much. We're going to give it a name. We're just going to call it Carl. For obvious reasons, we're calling the Tinylama Carl. Because that kills people. Someone somewhere is laughing at that joke. I hope. There we go. Now we got to pull the second bit. Sometimes a built-in function is helpful Sometimes it's better. But if you know how to use Ollama, and Ollama is working for you, I hope this 20-minute video, unless I cut out the waiting parts, is a good reminder that sometimes changing to the new thing does not always fix your problems, especially when that new thing is still being developed. I was looking at the fact they added support for model files in February, I think. Run name. We're going to call this Carl. Let's see if it even supports the name function. It does not. So let's do docker model run help. We can do openA compatible search strings, docker model help, unload request rm run. There's gotta be a way. They wouldn't just get rid of it, right? They would never. Skills start tag a model. Hey, we did it. But the LLM binary wasn't found, so we're going to have some issues. So, hey, do you know about llamas with hats? Is there any relation to Ollama or Tinylama? Hey, it looks like you're trying to use a model for VLLM, Docker model, reinstall runner, backend, so we got issues going on, right? It looks like it works, but it doesn't really. You have to do more configurations, no matter where you're working. You can get Ollama to work. We worked through most of it earlier. I just stopped at the 11th hour. You can get Docker Model Runner to work really easily. We saw that when we used AI and smallm2, right? It just works. But regardless of it, to get it to work for you is never the problem. It just takes time. Just like Linux, take your time. You can get through anything.